thronged to the venue. Also visible was a heavy security presence in an effort to forestall the breakdown of law and order, while security agencies were actively monitoring the situation within and outside the courts. Party faithful waited anxiously in anticipation of a favorable outcome. As the decision of the Apex Court began to trickle in, the court overturned the earlier judgment of the lower court, which sacked the Kano State Governor, Abia Yusuf, and his Plateau State counterpart, Caleb Mutfwang. Also, Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, and Bala Muhammad of Bauchi State all had the last laugh as the Apex Court affirmed their victories at the polls.
By the verdict of the court today, we believe that democracy is back on track in Nigeria. We believe that justice and fairness will continue to prevail in our courts, especially the Apex Court.
It's actually what I was expecting, so I believe the judiciary are doing very well, and Zamfara people are happy, and we're grateful. We will now go back, settle down, and do the needful in terms of governance.
I want to thank their lordships who have today restored confidence in the judiciary. Their lordships have demonstrated courage, and they have raised the hope of the ordinary man in Nigeria that justice is still available in Nigeria.
While the judgments of the Kano, Zamfara, and Plateau states were profound, it noted that they will go a long way to easing the insecurity concerns in their states. Clearly visible among the party supporters at the venue were displays of joy and excitement, as many of the supporters on ground shared money amongst one another, expressing their delight.
We are very happy today for the victory because they have really done well. They have done the right thing. Nigeria are proud of them today with what they have declared.
We, the citizens, also has our own problem. You understand? The problem is this: when it favors us, we give them the credit. When it doesn't favor, you go against them. I hope you understand, which is not normal for us. They are human beings as well.
It is a moment of joy and celebration for party supporters as the Supreme Court had laid all the governorship election disputes to rest. It is expected that the governors who have been affirmed by the Supreme Court can now go to work and deliver governance to its people, as contained in their campaign promises. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Oboman.
In Plateau State, supporters of the People's Democratic Party have taken to the streets to celebrate the victory of Caleb Mutfwang as governor of the state. This followed the judgment served by the Supreme Court earlier in Abuja, upholding the election of Governor Caleb Mutfwang as at the 2023 general elections. News Central's Chizoba Anyowe in Jos tells us more.
It was a day of jubilation within and around the Jos Bukuru metropolis for supporters of the ruling party after Governor Caleb Mutfwang of the PDP was affirmed duly elected winner of the 2023 Guber election in the state. Shortly before the judgment was served, some residents of Plateau spoke on their expectation from the Apex Court.
My expectation today, may the will of God prevail and may Plateau come to unity, irrespective of whether PDP or APC.
My prayer is that the Supreme Court will be able to sit and deliver a judgment that is favorable to the Plateau people.
I want them to look into that case very, well and shift away from technicality, and so that the Plateau people and Nigerians will still have hope on the judiciary.
It's good to have an open mind as a citizen and as a resident of Plateau State. Whoever the judgment favors, we go by it.
Now that the tussle for the governorship seat is over, all eyes will be on the governor and his performance in office.
It is said that if you are on a journey, don't bother about the dogs that are barking, because if you keep looking back, you may not reach your destination. We've passed that level now. You should forgive and move Plateau forward. What is critical is Plateau. What the people are waiting for is what he will deliver. It is what he will do from now henceforth that will justify the confidence that the people had in him.
Security operatives also embarked on a show of force to prevent any possible breakdown of law and order in the state. Now with the Supreme Court judgment over and done with, it is expected that everyone on the Plateau will join hands together to move the state forward, irrespective of party affiliations or socio-cultural differences. In Jos for News Central, I am Chizoba Anyowe.
To further discuss the victory of the Plateau State Governor at the Apex Court, I'm now joined by Special Advisor to Governor Mufwang on political matters, Latep Dabang. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll begin by asking what the perverting expression in the Plateau has been since the Supreme Court's ruling earlier today.
It has been a moment of joy, a moment of celebration. The people of Plateau State are excited. They are thanking God for this wonderful moment in their lives, that the Supreme Court have lived up to expectation and have delivered to the wills and expectation of the people of Plateau. This has been one of the most trying moments of the state. A lot of things have happened, anxieties, people have been so depressed, a lot of tension have been whipped up as a result of the decision of the Court of Appeal. But what the Supreme Court have done today has been like an antidote. It has come to dose the tension and respect the will of the people for which they have expressed since April 2023. Plateau is quiet, Plateau is now calm, and people are celebrating and dancing on the streets, expressing their joy for the restoration of the hope of the people in the democratic process. And I think this is one of the best moments that we have experienced, considering the situation, the depression, the sadness that have visited the decision of the Court of Appeal, considering the fact that we all know everybody on the street, everywhere, decided cases in the past have been so clear that issues that are pre-election matters should not be entertained by a tribunal. Unfortunately, this Court of Appeal overturned the decision of the Court of First Instance, which was the tribunal that presided over the issue and gave victory to Mufwang. I thank God, Plateau people are expressing their joy that the Supreme Court have agreed with the decision of the first court that decided that Mufwang was duly elected.
All right, I have more questions for you. We're going to talk about some of the explanations that was given by the justices, and of course, the expectation now that the hurdle to establish who is the rightful governor is over. That is after this short break. Stay with us.
For decades, the Niger Delta oil-producing region has suffered losses from oil theft and pipeline vandalism, which has led to Nigeria losing billions of foreign exchange worth of crude. But with the engagement of Tantita security services, pipeline vandalism and oil theft has reduced significantly. Tantita Security Services is an internationally recognized security outfit based in Delta State. Tantita specializes in providing professional security solutions to the oil and gas industry through a strategic partnership with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited (NNPCL), with over 1,000 plus field agents, 30 plus operational and combat boats, 10 ground-to-air drones. Tantita is changing the narrative around security in the Niger Delta. Tantita Security Services, dedicated to putting an end to oil theft in the Niger Delta.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's continue our conversation. I did say I was going to mention some of the reasons given. Justice Emmanuel Agim held that the APC and its candidate are not members of the PDP and cannot challenge the primary election of the PDP. That and other instances given. Why, in your view, did the lower courts fail to interpret the law the way that the Supreme Court has now done?
These judgments appear to be political. At the tribunal, the first tribunal agreed that the issues that were being brought before it were issues of pre-election matters, and that APC had no business prying into the activities of another party where the issues of pre-election matters were concerned. And that was why the first tribunal. But on appeal, the Court of Appeal, to our greatest dismay, disagreed with the tribunal and then overturned the judgment and gave victory to the APC. But now that the Supreme Court have agreed with the first tribunal, I think that is the right thing that ought to have been done, because it has been established over years. And the decision of the Supreme Court have been very, very clear on this matter, that the issue of congresses or primaries of a political party are purely the internal issues of that political party. And
all right, I'm sorry to
can challenge.
All right, sorry to jump in. I'm told we have less than a minute to conclude this conversation. So I'll quickly ask, now that the litigation distraction is no more, what should the people of the state be looking forward to?
We should be looking forward to a government that will be embracive, a government that will be all-inclusive, a government that will not allow this distraction to distract it from running the course of governance. And I believe the governor will come back to Plateau State and ensure that everybody is carried on board, that governance is now the issue, and political wranglings should be put behind, and then the oath of office which he has sworn to ensure that he is fair to all and carry the people of Plateau State should be exercised. And I believe that considering his pedigree, he is not going to allow the bickerings of the past to distract him from governance.
All right, thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
God bless you.
In Kano State, wild celebrations have been witnessed on the streets as the Supreme Court affirms the victory of the state governor, Abia Yusuf, at the state governorship election, dismissing an earlier Court of Appeal judgment which handed victory to Yusuf Gawuna of the All Progressive Congress. Young and old residents took to the streets in celebration, expressing their joy at the decision of the Apex Court. Amadine Uyi reports.
The day started with a tense atmosphere in the ancient city of Kano. Security operatives were seen at major streets in the state capital and around the government house, hoping to arrest any breakdown of law and order if troublemakers try to take advantage of the situation. Governor Abia Yusuf is having his election being challenged by the All Progressives Congress governorship candidate, Yusuf Gawuna, who emerged as the first runner-up in the poll. The appeal court had earlier declared Gawuna the winner of the polls after deducting votes from Yusuf. claiming they were not certified ballot papers for the election. However, supporters of Yusuf, faithful to the Kwankwasia movement, say they hope the decision will be upturned.
Expecting the result from the spring court, and for sure, inshallah, Kwankwasia will emerge the winner.
We are all here. If you can see Kano State now, everybody is happy and joyful. We are here to tell people that we know we have a good result before, and we're going to have it today, inshallah.
The seat belongs to Abba Kabir Yusuf. He won his election fervently, not undisputed. So what else do you think we can say? I'm expecting the judge to side Abba, go back and continue your work. That is all we need from there.
As the judgment began to trickle in, the apex court in faraway Abuja maintained that Yusuf was the valid winner of the poll and retains his seat as governor. This sparked a frenzy of excitement in the ancient city of Kano as supporters took to the streets to express their joy. The young and old, supporters of Yusuf, came out in their numbers to show their support for the governor, a clear indication that indeed his victory was not alone for his party, but also for democracy.
I don't know to where I start. We thank God. Allah, mungo dema. Allah, we thank God. Thank you. God bless Abba. God bless Kwankwasia Amana.
We are happy today. We are happy. Congratulations, Abba Kabir Yusuf. Congratulations to Kano State people. Congratulations to Nigerians. Alhamdulillah, Abba Zama.
With a long wait for the judgment of the apex court now finally over, it is hoped that governance can kickstart in Kano, with residents benefiting from the dividends of democracy. From Abuja, Amadin Uyi, reporting for News Central.
In Lagos State, residents have begun to react to the Supreme Court's affirmation of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's victory in the Lagos State 2023 gubernatorial election. A panel of justices dismissed separate appeals filed by the PDP and Labour Party, who argued Mr. Sanwo-Olu's nomination was invalid as his running mate, Obafemi Hamzat, holds dual Nigerian and U.S. citizenship and was thus ineligible. The court unanimously upheld the governor's election. News Central's Ni Omoni provides further detail.
The core issue in the case of the Labour Party candidate in the Lagos State gubernatorial election, Gbadebo Road's rival, centered around the qualification of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's running mate. He claimed that the Deputy Governor, Obafemi Hamzat, had renounced his Nigerian citizenship. The court added that the renunciation of citizenship of a citizen by birth must be registered by the President of Nigeria, noting that the appellant did not provide evidence of such registration. Abdulaziz Adediran, popularly known as Jando, of the PDP in turn argued that the name submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission for Sanwo-Olu differed from that on his West African Examination Council certificate. The Supreme Court described this argument as academic while dismissing the appeal. The dismissal of the appeals from the Labour Party and PDP means that Sanwo-Olu is the duly elected governor of Lagos State.
It's really just to thank all of our citizens in Lagos for their support, irrespective of what party affiliation you are, and to call everyone, all Lagosians, to join us once again on our Greater Lagos journey.
A cross-section of Lagosians surveyed indicated that many were not surprised by the Supreme Court's decision.
He has no choice but to give up on the case. Gbadebo has no choice. Mr. Gbadebo has no choice but to give up on the case. So let's leave Sanwo-Olu. As a matter of fact, Sanwo-Olu is a good governor and he's trying doing his own bit.
And everybody see the way he's doing Lagos, everybody is really very okay. So to me, I don't have any problem. He's a great man.
As long as he has entered, let him do what he's supposed to do to make us to have confidence on him, especially the youth. The youth are lacking a lot of things. The youth are lacking job.
Sanwo-Olu previously prevailed at both the Lagos State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal and the Court of Appeal, with both courts dismissing the cases brought against him to overturn his victory. In Lagos for News Central, Ni Omoni.
In Abia State, Governor Alex Oti has extended hands of fellowship to the opposition in the state following the affirmation of his election by the Apex Court. Also, some citizens of the state have reacted to the Supreme Court's judgment and advised the governor to carry on with more development projects around the state. News Central's Chinwe Ugele reports.
It was just a normal day in Umuahia, the Abia state capital, though with lots of anticipation depending on which side people belonged. Governor Alex Oti said all distractions are out of his way and therefore would work effectively to place the state where it should be.
We also want to thank the Abia people who have stood solidly behind us since we took the principled stand of running to rescue Abia State from decay and dilapidation.
The lower courts had earlier declared Oti winner of the March 18, 2023 gubernatorial election and may have informed the indifference shown by many for the Supreme Court's judgment.
The result is what we expected. It's the will of the people. We all voted for him, and we appreciate the judges for saying and delivering the right judgment.
When he started, he gave us a manifesto as the governor of the state. We are believing God that God will enable him to achieve his aim. That's our expectation.
The Supreme Court today have told them that this man won the election and have won it.
The governor will take Abia State to the next level, as I can see, because the man started with a good hand.
While the state party chairman of the Labour Party, Mr. C.K. Igara, expressed joy at the victory, he also enjoined other contenders to unite for the common good of the state.
Our major contention is to develop Abia. I don't think there is any other thing we are contending about. All of us are talking about how to better Abia. Now that God has given the mandate to Dr. Alex Oti, I invite all the opposition, the PDP, the APC, the ABGA, all other parties. I invite them to come and join us because this is time for governance.
However, there were no officials or members of the opposition parties of the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress present at the state headquarters to react to the judgment. With the affirmation of the election of Governor Alex Oti as the duly elected governor of Abia State, all litigations and petitions are now over, and it is time for the governor to concentrate to deliver dividends of democracy to the citizens of Abia State. In Umuahia from News Central,
To speak more on the rulings of the Supreme Court, I am joined by legal practitioner Evan Sufeli and political analyst Jide Ojo. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Let's start with you, Evans. What is your candid view of the Supreme Court's decisions today? You can focus on any of the states if that helps. All right, I understand we lost Evans for a bit. Let's see if it comes back in. But let's come to you, Jide, with the same question. What would be your candid overview of the Supreme Court's decision today? Like I said, you could focus on any of the states if that helps narrow it down.
Okay, thank you, Felicity. Good evening, Nigerians. I want to focus on the Plateau states, and it's a bittersweet experience in Plateau. While I congratulate Mr. Caleb Mutfwang on his survival at the Supreme Court, the lower court did injustice to the good people of Plateau State by nullifying the election of one senator and about 5 or 6 House of Reps members, as well as 11 members of Plateau State House of Assembly, based on the same principle that the Supreme Court have now said issues around nomination and sponsorship of candidates is the primary responsibility and an internal party affair. But it's on this principle that 11 State House of Assembly members of Plateau State were sacked by the Court of Appeal. It is on this basis that people like Daniela, former daughter of the former governor of the state, who was representing Langtang North and South, was sacked by Honorable Bagos, and even the senator that former governor of the Plateau State, what is his name, Simon Lalong, went to take his seat. It was on that basis that PDP did not have structure and did not comply with the High Court decision. Now the Supreme Court has said that the PDP in Plateau State complied with the High Court decision, and that the sponsorship and nomination of candidates is an internal affairs of a party, that APC does not have any right to go and look into the affairs of PDP in the Plateau. But the damage has been done because for those those other seats, that Senator, House of Reps, State House of Assembly, House of Representatives, they all terminate at the Court of Appeal. So they did not have the privilege of having the Supreme Court looking into their grievances. And that means they have lost until 2027. That is the most painful part of this, what happened today to me. The second one is that of Kano, where Section 177, subsection C of the Electoral Act was used as one of the bases for nullification of the election of Alhaji Abba Kabir Yusuf, and also the fact that they said there are approximately 160,000 votes that was not stamped and signed by a presiding officer, which the Supreme Court found not to be true. The Supreme Court said 146,000 of those ballot papers were actually stamped and signed, just that there were no dates on the ballot. But that issues around Section 177 sub C of the Electoral Act is not an issue upon which an election can be nullified. Now, these 8 people whose decisions were made today were lucky to have the Supreme Court review their cases. What if their own cases too are terminated at the Court of Appeal? We will have lost, the NMPP will have lost Kano, PDP will have lost Plateau, and even PDP will have lost Samfara. Because this... let
me interject. I asked this question earlier. I asked this question earlier of a guest. I want to put it to you because you've referenced it. The decisions of the lower court, is it not the same law that the documentation that they're using to interpret the law that the Supreme Court is using as well? Why is it that not just one but 2 courts seem to fail to see the law and interpret it the way that the Supreme Court has done? Should we be concerned that that is happening, and what could be done to reverse that?
Felicity, really am concerned, and it makes him very, very sad that these Plateau people, because in the case of Plateau, the most interesting thing is that all those people who today became a collateral damage, none of them won their elections with less than 60,000. That is the margin with which they defeated their closest rival, which was APC and Labour Party. But look at it this way. Like you rightly pointed out, it is the same. That's why the governor is talking about locus decisis. When a Supreme Court has decided on a case, the Court of Appeal justices and the judges of the tribunal ought to have taken judicial notice of what their senior brothers did at the Supreme Court and rule accordingly. Why did they deviate? Because as at October last year, as at December last year, either November or December, when the Supreme Court decided on Bola Tinubu's case against Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar, they've already established that issues around nomination, sponsorship, and qualification are pre-election matters. So why did the justices of the Court of Appeal still went ahead to nullify the election of Plateau State Governor, of Kano State Governor, of Zamfara State.
Okay, again, I have to interject. Jide, I have to interject in the interest of time. I have to interject in the interest of time to get you to narrow it down. Could we assume now that, now that the Supreme Court has clarified, I wouldn't say new laws, I don't know if you would say that, clarified some of the angles you've raised, do you think we will have a repeat of the ruling that we've seen come next election, or this has helped in some way in, settling post-election matters so that we don't have to get to the Supreme Court to get more judgment?
Well, ironically, this may not even have laid to rest litigious attitude of the political class. Don't forget, we still have 3 governorship elections that are under review, under judicial review, and those are the 3 governorship elections of Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa, which were held on November 11, 2023. And the Court of First Instance here has 6 months within which to review these elections. So it is important that their lordship at the tribunal and at the Court of Appeal should take judicial notice of what their senior brother has decided at the Supreme Court today, and not thrown the country into confusion. Because if the Supreme Court did not redeem the situation, maybe as at now we will have been hearing of riots in Kano, riots in Plateau, riots in Zamfara, and that will have worsened the already tense security situations that we have on our hands. And I'm calling on the National Judicial Council to investigate their lordship in the Court of Appeal and in the tribunal that gave this miscarriage of justice, particularly in the case of Plateau. It pains me to the marrow. 11 members of this Plateau State House of Assembly, about 5 or 6 members of House of Reps, and 1 senator who lost their seat and could not have that decision overturned by the Supreme Court because their cases terminate at the Court of Appeal. That is the most painful thing, because I think that they also have that opportunity to go to Supreme Court now. It's a done deal that they will have had their own position to their seats returned back to them. But be that as it may, I think what we can learn from what has happened today is that their lordship at the lower court will now take judicial notice of what their colleagues at the Supreme Court have said, and I hope they will not deviate from it.
All right, Jide.
That is my prayer.
Thank you very much for your candid view.
Always a pleasure. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. You're watching Nigeria Tonight on News Central. Coming up, President Tinubu suspends National Social Investment Program. We have details after the break. Join us again.
For decades, the Niger Delta oil-producing region has suffered losses from oil theft and pipeline vandalism, which has led to Nigeria losing billions of foreign exchange worth of crude. But with the engagement of Tantita security services, pipeline vandalism and oil theft has reduced significantly. Tantita Security Services is an internationally recognized security outfit based in Delta State. Tantita specializes in providing professional security solutions to the oil and gas industry through a strategic partnership with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL. With over 1,000 plus field agents, 30 plus operational and combat boats, 10 ground-to-air drones, Tantita is changing the narrative initiative around security in the Niger Delta, Tantita Security Services, dedicated to putting an end to oil theft in the Niger Delta.
If you have just joined us, you're watching Nigeria Tonight. A reminder of our top stories. Supreme Court reinstates Kano Plateau State governors, affirms 6 others' electoral victories. President Tinubu suspends National Social Investment Program. Federal government alerts Nigerians to meningitis outbreak. President Bola Tinubu has suspended all administered social investment programs by the National Social Investment Program Agency. Announcing the suspension in a statement on Friday, the Director Information Secretary to the Government of the Federation said the president's decision was in view of the ongoing investigation of alleged impropriety in the management of the agency and its programs. The statement says that all 4 programs administered by NSIPA, which include Empower Program, Conditional Cash Transfer Program, Government Enterprise and Empowerment Program, and Homegrown School Feeding Program, have been suspended for a period of 6 weeks in the first instance. According to the statement, Tinubu also constituted a ministerial panel to conduct a thorough review of the agency's operations to recommend necessary reforms. In the meantime, the president has approved the sum of 683.4 billion naira as the 2024 intervention funds for public tertiary education institutions in the country. Executive Secretary of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TET Fund, Sonny Echono, disclosed this on Friday during the fund strategic planning meeting with heads of beneficiary institutions in Abuja. Echono said From the total, 90.75% was budgeted for direct disbursement and 8.94% for some designated special projects. A stabilization of 2.27% was allowed to enable the fund respond to emerging issues. He also disclosed that each university shall get for the year 2024 intervention cycle the total sum of 1.90 billion naira. Each polytechnic 1.16 billion naira, while each college of education shall get 1.39 billion naira. This year's intervention witnessed a boost as compared to last year, which saw the disbursement of over 320 billion. Let's quickly turn our attention to health matters. The federal government has alerted Nigerians to the outbreak of meningitis. It said the disease claimed 190 lives across the country last year. Meningitis is more prevalent during the dry season, which comes with dust, winds, and cold nights. The government said the warning became imperative as the weather condition brings with it frequent upper respiratory tract infections that increase the risk of infection, especially with crowding and poor ventilation. Director General, Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Ifedayo Adetifa, said 2022-2023 statistics revealed that Nigeria recorded 2,765 suspected and 303 confirmed meningitis cases, with 190 deaths across 140 local government areas in 30 states, including the Federal Capital Territory. To discuss this development, I'm joined by Program Coordinator, Nigeria Health Watch, Abara Irim. Thank you very much, Abara, for giving us your time. The government said the warning became imperative due to a weather condition that increased the risk of infection. What are the early symptoms to watch out for?
All right, thank you so much for having me on the show. And so regarding meningitis, like we said, and the early symptoms to watch out for is things around fever. And first off, meningitis, as we know, it's an infectious disease. It's one of the infectious diseases that we have in the country. Now, how it happens is the connective tissues that lines the brain and the spinal cord, it's infected. So that's how that's just a brief definition of what meningitis is. Now, part of the symptoms that you would know that someone has meningitis include fever, and there's also things around headache, as well as nausea and vomiting. Now, the other thing, which is like classical symptoms, will be things around neck stiffness, as well as altered consciousness. And what we mean by person is really unable to recall some of the things that he or she is able to know, and that then there's something they call irritability. So you're really very unstable. You lack proper coordination. So these are some of the things we would know. And in children, we also see things around poor feeding or inability to feel like the child was feeding prior to this time. So those are some of the early symptoms that you will see. And when you start seeing those things, one of the key things that you should suspect, especially if you're living in one of the meningitis belt states, will be something around meningitis. Thank you.
What would be, so we don't even get the symptoms at all, what preventive measures should individuals take to prevent infection?
Awesome. That's a very great question. And regarding the preventive measures, the basic things that we used to know, for example, great and correct personal hygiene is one of the key things that is really critical. You know, during COVID, we were taught the cough etiquette where we said you have to dab when you want to cough. That thing is really critical, and it wasn't just for COVID. Beyond COVID, we have to continue practicing all of those etiquettes. Hand washing is very critical. When we wash our hands properly, it has been shown that it can, and proper hand washing has the ability to solve most of the infectious diseases that we contract. So those are one of the things. The other thing would be around avoiding smoking, because it's one of the things that makes people more prone to meningitis. So, and ventilation. Sometimes one of the key things that really makes people prone to meningitis is staying in a poor ventilated or closed settings. So one of the preventive practices would be to have proper ventilation, ensure that you stay in a surrounding that is properly aerated, and have a lot of spacing within. And we also have the proper hygiene, and I think I've said that earlier. So those are some of the ways that individuals can protect themselves. For the healthcare workers, we have really taking care of our medical equipment well, and also ensuring that we keep ourselves safe by putting on all of our infection prevention and control practices that we know and we've been doing. So these are some of the ways we can prevent meningitis.
All right, as quickly as you can, are you aware of the availability of vaccines and treatment for affected persons by the federal government? Are there any across the country?
Okay, absolutely. There are vaccines for meningitis, and that would begin to be rolled out once we enter the season of the outbreak. Just to say, what the federal government is doing now is really putting out early warning to members of the public, to Nigerians in particular, so they're aware that we're entering the meningitis season, and we have to be aware of it, number one. And number two, we have to take precautions to ensure that we don't get infected. Now, there are meningitis, like the Men-A vaccine is what is currently being administered when we have outbreaks. For example, in regions like Jigawa, where we had several cases last year, reactive vaccination was being done in those cases. So currently, the federal government is really mobilizing support for those things. So we know that we're in the season of it, and vaccine. They're also ramping up vaccination from the National Primary Healthcare Development Agencies. So when that is needed, that would actually be done like it was done even last year.
All right, Abara, thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has warned heads of the state's ministries, departments and agencies to strictly adhere to the state's budget for the effective and prudent management of resources. This comes after he assented to the 358.7 billion naira appropriation bill recently passed by the State House of Assembly. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
Borno State, located in Nigeria's northeast region, once regarded as one of Nigeria's most peaceful states, has in the last few years faced complex challenges associated with the Boko Haram and ISWAP insurgency As a result, the need for robust socio-economic development. The Speaker of the State House of Assembly revealed that the 2024 budget presented by Governor Babagana Zulum in late December 2023 has been reviewed upwards to cater for the state's expectation.
In consultation with the key members of the State Executive Council, we reviewed the proposed budget 2024 to the sum of 358 billion 732 million 146 naira is hereby agreed and passed on 28 December 2023 as regards 2024 budget.
Borno State Governor appended his signature to the approved budget, thus legalizing the bill and signing it into law.
If you don't have budget, please don't send it to me. It's a capital function. If you don't have budget, don't send your request to my office. Neither send to the State Executive Council for consideration.
Governor Zulum urged government agencies to take responsibility for their roles in delivering essential services to the people of Borno State. He emphasized the importance of prudent financial management and eliminating wasteful expenditures with a clear focus on achieving value for money in public spending.
The ministry has to put in place appropriate tracking mechanism that will ensure budget implementation. Budgeting is very important.
Through the signed appropriation bill, allocations have been made to various sectors critical to the state's development agenda. These sectors include education, healthcare, agriculture, infrastructure, job creation, security, among others. Governor Zulum expressed his determination to ensure that these funds are utilized effectively to deliver tangible benefits to the people of Borno State. In Maiduguri for News Central, I am Umaru Kirawa.
Let's join our sports desk for the latest in the world of sports.
In the world of sports, Nigerian Football Federation, NFF, has denied sacking assistant coaches of the national teams. The NFF, however, clarified that the assistant coaches would only be engaged on invitational basis for the national team assignments. According to the Nigerian football governing body, the development is in line with existing policy whereby only head coaches of the various teams are salaried. NFF, in a statement shared via X, formerly Twitter, revealed that the assistant coaches will only earn invitational allowances and March bonuses when they come for national assignments. The Nigerian Premier Football League (NPFL) has officially opened its 2024 mid-season transfer window. The league body made the announcement on its official X handle. The window was open on January 10, 2024 and will close on January 31, 2024. Clubs have been advised to make the best use of the window to fortify their team for the remainder of the season. Match Day 18 fixtures will be played on Saturday, Monday and Tuesday. Remo Stars is currently top position on the NPFL table with 32 points. The Federal Ministry of Sport has released the list of sports the country will take part in the 13th African Games, scheduled for 18 March to 23 March in Ghana. The ministry also released the names of athletes and sports that have so far qualified for the Olympic Games billed for Paris from 26 July to 10 August. Acting Director of the Federation Elites and Athletes Development, Amaka Shiofu, announced this in Abuja in a meeting with various sports federations, revealing that the country would compete in 23 sports. Ashiofu listed the sports as athletics, badminton, cycling, swimming, table tennis, and wrestling, among others. Finally, in the world of sports, sprint sensation Favour Ashe is off to a brilliant start for 2024. The Auburn Junior clocked a time of 6:53 seconds to win his first race for the year, over 60 meters. He defeated Jacobin Rata, who came in second at 6.66 seconds, while Manakashe Chemba settled for third at 6.72 seconds. Ashe's 6.53 seconds makes his fastest opener since he debuted indoors in 2022. And that's it in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaro.
And that's all tonight, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the big stories. Supreme Court has reinstated Kano, Plateau State's governors, affirmed 6 others' electoral victories. President Tinubu has suspended National Social Investment Program. We also told you that the federal government has alerted Nigerians to a meningitis outbreak. Would like to hear from you. Please send your eyewitness reports to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on social media at NewsCentralTV. You can watch live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you for watching. Good night.
Africa is rising. Again, we hear our sounds echo on the other side.